Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. Sir Jim Radcliffe has officially declared his interest that he will bid for Manchester United as we approach a very exciting period for the future of Manchester United as potential buyers now enter the stage where they have to publicly declare their interest. We know the final bids will go into the Glazers at the middle of February, but actual bids going in now, not now, but declarations of interest are coming in publicly. Now we're going to pick the bones out of this because there's a lot of excitement out there, which I get, but actually I think there's a lot of question marks. I'm sure we'll see oil me up in the chat. That's what we normally see, but I do think there are a lot of question marks. Wakas, welcome to the members club. Also, welcome to James. Look, I embrace these sort of shows, and I like the prospect of analysing it and discussing it with you good people, because do I want Sir Jim Radcliffe as Manchester United manager? No. And people will be like, oh, you don't know what you're on about. That's why I don't want him as owner. I don't know what I'm on about because I don't know what the detail of the bid is. And we never will know. I personally think we will never know what a good bid for Manchester United is, because it's not like Chelsea. Chelsea, it was a very transparent process with government involvement. This is about the Glazers getting the most money they can. If Sir Jim Radcliffe is the best prospective buyer and it's $1 billion below somebody else, it will be somebody else who buys us. Sir Jim Radcliffe could put the best bid in and not be the best buyer for Manchester United. We don't know. So I will not sit here and say, oh, I'm so excited, I want Sir Jim Radcliffe to be the owner of Man United because he grew up in the area and he's a Man United fan. In many ways, that would be great, but maybe he wants to run the club in a moral way where you only live off your own profit. He's not interested in what Man City or Newcastle are doing, in which case we'll never win anything. Maybe he's got a consortium behind him and he's going to spend billions on the club, in which case, fan of the club, grew up in the area, billions to spend, perfect. All I'm saying is I'd feel irresponsible to sit here and say this is the owner that we want when we don't know what the ownership model is, and that will be the problem for me. But look, let's go through the story, and I want to just make it very, very clear. So Jim Radcliffe, as owner of Manchester United, whatever he pays the Glazers, if he's got another $6 billion to spend on the club over the next decade, give him the job, because if he's got the money, he's got the passion, he's got the support, give him the job. If he makes mistakes, anyone can make mistakes. Has he got the money once he's bought the club to deliver what we want? Loads of people are talking about his ownership of Nice. I think Nice is more of a football project. I think Manchester United would be a football passion. Lots to get into. Lots of people are going to have their say. But let's go through the breaking news. Ineos has entered the bidding process to buy Manchester United. Sir Jim Radcliffe, one of Britain's richest men, has confirmed that he's officially in the running to buy the club from the Glazers. A spokesman for Ineos said, we have formally put ourselves into the process of bidding for Manchester United. And the same article from the Times goes on to say, bids are expected from the United States, the Middle East and Asia, but Sir Jim is the first to publicly confirm his interest. And then just an update from TalkSport, the Glazers are hoping to agree a deal to sell Manchester United by the end of March. So what does that mean? Well, it means that there is going to be a lot of interest in buying Manchester United, as we know. It means that Ineos, Sir Jim Radcliffe, are the first people to declare their interest in buying Manchester United, as we know. And it also means that there will be other people who are going to bid. Sir Jim Radcliffe is not going to be the only bidder. And I'm sure there's plenty of fans out there who wish that was the case. Just give it to Sir Jim, give it to him for $2 billion, and then he's got loads of money to spend. I think that would be very interesting, but that's not going to happen. The Glazers want a bidding war, and I personally don't think the Glazers care who buys the club. If Sir Jim buys Man United, what good is going to come from that? Says Tom. And hi Mark, I think the good news here is that a bidding war is likely to start now, meaning a full sale is most likely. 100% Carl, I think you've read the room very well there. There is going to be a bidding war, which is good for the Glazers, but hopefully good for Manchester United. Just to go back to what Tom Best says, Sir Jim Radcliffe or Dubai would be good owners for Manchester United if their intention is to buy the club, own it for a long time and spend a lot of money on it. Anybody's intention who is to buy the club and make money out of it is a bad owner. I don't know who and what the intentions of these bids are, because we'll never know. Bloomberg lists United at 5 billion. Sir Jim bid 4.25 for Chelsea after the deadline, and that was the final valuation. He has the cash. There you go, says Mahmood. And Ian says, I think Dubai will outbid anyone, says Ian. It's going to be very interesting, and I'm sure the Glazers are very excited tonight. But just to give you a little bit more, at this stage, this is coming from Dickinson Times, which is Matt Dickinson, very good journalist. He says, at this stage, parties have to sign up to see confidential financial documents and commit to undertaking due diligence before a possible takeover. Formal bids for Manchester United are expected to start next month. So at this stage, you're not bidding, you are expressing publicly your intention to bid. And that is what Sir Jim Radcliffe has done with Ineos, and that is what's happened tonight. That will be followed up by others. I think we probably should and will, over the next few days and weeks, get more of this. We will, you know, in some ways. Look, I'm reacting to this live, so let's have a conversation about it. So Jim Radcliffe has declared his interest in officially bidding for Manchester United, and he will bid. I'm pretty sure of that. And if he's going to bid, he must have a plan. And if he's got a plan, who knows what that plan is? There could be funds behind him from Saudi Arabia. There could be funds behind him from ex-players. There could be, you know, who knows? Who knows? There was always a rumour that Sir Jim Radcliffe had an ex-player involved. So maybe it's a consortium. Who knows? And until we know, it's very hard to declare that that's what you want. But there will also be, some people feel that Sir Jim Radcliffe declaring himself first as publicly interested gives him a race, gives him a head start. Maybe it does, but if tomorrow Apple declare their interest, everyone's going to forget Sir Jim and go, oh, I want bloody Apple. And then if on Friday Dubai express their interest, everyone's going to go, oh my God, imagine the money that they've got to spend. I want them. So we'll end up with division. Some people will stay wanting Sir Jim, some people will want Apple, some people will want Dubai, some people will want another one. And I'm not saying Apple are going to bid, and I'm not going to say Dubai are going to bid. But this, I think, is what the next stage is. Public declarations of intentions to buy Manchester United, of intentions to bid. And that's what we've got with Sir Jim Radcliffe tonight. And we will get it with others. We will. We will get it with whoever, I don't know. As the article says, they've declared that Sir Jim wants to buy Manchester United, but they also say there will be bids from Asia, there will be bids from the Middle East, and there will be bids from the USA. There will be bids from a lot of places. That will be music to the Glazers' ears. It may not be music to our ears. It just depends. But I've always said this, haven't I? I don't think there's a Glazer buyer out there, because we can't be milked like a cow. The Glazers bought us when we were making money hand over fist. Brands were queuing up. We were very successful. There was so much money to be made. There's not that much money to be made at Manchester United at the moment without massive investment in infrastructure. So I think everybody will know that. Apparently, LH44 also informed he and Rashford will feed every kid in... Okay, Mahmood, or whatever that is. Mark, we must support any new owner we get. Tesla sold 1.3 million cars in 2022. If Radcliffe gets the Glazers out, the Ineos Grenadier 4x4 should be doubling that, says Ola. Man United, for whoever buys us, is... you know, there's money to be made. Of course there was. But look, Ineos' net worth is $61 billion. His company is buying it, not him, says Carol. That, again, is a very, very good point. You know, being bought by a company of which Sir Jim Radcliffe is a majority shareholder is interesting, because I spoke to somebody about Sir Jim Radcliffe a few weeks ago, and they said his personal wealth isn't there. His wealth is in businesses. How do you buy a club and through a company and run it like a passion without answering to shareholders? What would the plan be? What would the plan be? Let me just say this. And look, Sir Jim Radcliffe's publicly said he wants to buy the club. I'd say the same if it was Dubai. I'd say the same if it was Amazon. What is your plan when you buy Manchester United? Are you buying Man United for $6 billion and then you've got $6 billion to spend? Or are you buying Man United for $6 billion and you've got nothing to spend? Is this, I just want to get United out the hands of the Glazers and be the Robin Hood of the fan base? In which case, I don't really want that. That's my opinion. I don't want that. I don't think we need what we had 10 years ago, where there was a consortium that was trying to get us out of the hands of the Glazers. we're going to have a massive queue of people who are going to take us out of the hands of the Glazers because the Glazers want to go. I don't want what Michael Knighton was on about a few months ago. I don't want a consortium to basically bankrupt themselves to buy the club and then have no money left. I don't want that. I don't think we need that. I think we would have took it a few years ago, but right now, this is a bidding war. I want somebody to buy the club who wants to make it the biggest club in the world and bankroll it with a new stadium, infrastructure, and support this manager. I do not want somebody to buy it and go, look at me, I'm the hero, I've got it out of the hands of the Glazers, but there's no money to spend, because that would be catastrophic, because we're not in that situation. There may be 20 bidders for Manchester United, there may be 5. If you get bought by the one who's got no money after they've bought us, there'll be 4 other people who could have bought us who had the money to buy us and the money to pump in. And that is what we need. Whoever it is, I think there are preferable, and Sir Jim would be preferable because of he's well known, but he's only more preferable than Dubai or America because we know who he is. We know he's from England, we know he's from Manchester, and we know he's a Manchester United fan. That makes him a very preferable option because we know who he is. Other bids, we don't know who they are. We don't know what's behind it. Some people don't want an oil state behind an ownership of Manchester United. They want to be different from Newcastle, PSG, or Manchester City. Some people don't want an American consortium owning us, like Chelsea. They want something different. And I think that a billionaire with billions to spend on Manchester United, who is a Manchester United fan, separates us. I think what Man United fans, and why wouldn't you? I think Manchester United fans want the dream. I think Manchester United fans want the fan of the club who's got the billions that Dubai or the Middle East have got. Now, whether you can achieve that or not, I don't know. We cannot be a state-owned club for many obvious and important reasons. Let's leave that to Man City and Newcastle. United need to remain special, says United Forever. And Ineos has got the cash, says Oni. Look, can I just say this? A lot of people are saying Ineos are going to buy Manchester United. That isn't necessarily a good thing. When a company buys a club, they've got shareholders. Ineos is not there to bankroll Manchester United. So Jim Radcliffe set that club up, but it very much depends on the voting rights, the shareholders, the percentages. You cannot just go and buy a football club with the company that you set up that's then been structured with shareholders and everybody else, because they would be like, well, we want a return on our investment. That is a very important factor. I can't answer that. And this is what I mean. I don't know, and you don't know, and nobody knows what the plan is if Sir Jim gets hold of the club. And nobody knows what the plan is if bid 2 or bid 3 or bid 4 or America or the Middle East or Asia. Nobody knows. And you can tie yourself up in knots because you will get fans going, oil me up, that's all I want. You will get fans going, I just want Sir Jim because he's from Manchester and he's a United fan. And I'd sort of sit here and go, I'll probably get pelters from both, but tell me what their plan is. And you can't. Therefore, I will not sit here and go, I want that owner or I want that owner. I can paint a picture of what I want, and I've said it before, I would like Manchester United fan Sir Jim Radcliffe with billions of pounds to spend. Is that achievable? Has he got 6 billion to buy United and 6 billion to pump in over 10 years? I don't know. Some would say he's probably got enough to buy us and a little bit, and then it's going to be about we're a morally run football club for the fans, by the fans. That's the history of Manchester United. We're not going to be like PSG and Man City. We're going to make our money and live off our money, but it will be moral. We will be a proper football club. We're going to be the trendsetters, and we'll watch everyone else probably win titles. Maybe that's the model. Maybe the model is there's billions to spend, but nobody knows. So, I always like to see people getting excited about things that are going to happen with Manchester United, but as I said, we don't know what the plan is for any of these owners, and we won't know because we've got no say anyway. And I think Must and all the other fan groups would love to have a say in it, but I really just think that if the Glazers had a fantastic owner of Man United who were offering 5.5 billion, and then there's another person who just wants to buy us for 6, they'll go with the one who's 6 because they're just going to make as much money as they can. Just because Ineos are worth 61 billion, that doesn't mean they have cash. Assets are totally different, kettle of fish, says Lee. Well, you know what? 61 billion for a company isn't actually that much. It isn't, because you're right. That money could be locked up. They're not sat there with 61 billion in the bank. No way. It'll be in all sorts of places, and there's a big difference between net worth and what's in your bank pocket. And look, it could be great. It could be a dream. It could be a nightmare. We don't know, because ultimately, all we do know about Sir Jim Ratcliffe is he's rich and he's a Man United fan. But we don't know how rich. We don't know what his plan is. There could be 4 or 5 better options. You know, a consortium from the USA might be better. You know, look at what Todd Bowley's doing at Chelsea. You just don't know. If Ineos have entered the process, the bid's been taken seriously and not flat out rejected. This tells me the Glazers haven't found a higher offer yet, says James. I think Man United are playing a very, very clever game, and I don't know whether you have to do this anyway, but I think that people having to publicly... I think if people have to publicly declare their interest, let's be honest, it just plays into the hands of the Glazers. You know, if you have to publicly declare your interest in buying Manchester United, it plays into the hand of the Glazers, doesn't it? Because only one bid can win, and it's like buying a house, isn't it? You know, if you find the house that you want, but 10 other people want to buy it as well, what do you do? What do you do? You know, the owners probably are going to go with the biggest bid. How do you know that? How do you know who's going to offer what? So, buy United, buy out of town plot to build new stadium, flatten Old Trafford and redevelop into office blocks. They'll make them in, and I can see it coming, says Graham. That'll never happen. That won't be allowed to happen. This is Radcliffe putting himself in the focus. He wants a wealthy consortium to come in, make him the face, and Ineos invest as a minority shareholder, says Elliot. Yeah, and, you know, you're asking football fans, you're asking a lot of football fans here as well, aren't you? And I must sympathise with it, because I've seen some of the reaction from some people who, you know, they talk about who should play at right back, and they haven't got a bloody clue what they're talking about when it comes to this financial side of things. And it's not their fault. You know, really, they might be okay at telling you what team we should pick against Crystal Palace. They haven't got a bloody clue about financials. And, you know, some of what they say is dangerous, because it's like, oh yeah, we just want Sir Jim. We just want Sir Jim. He's a local lad and he's from Manchester United. But as somebody just said there, what if it's about building a consortium to get hold of the club? But in a consortium, you're not the majority shareholder. You're just the face. And who's in that consortium? Is it somebody who just wants to chuck a load of money in? Or is it somebody who wants to take money out eventually? I think the most important thing for Manchester United is, and the most important thing for you is to individually make your own mind up. Because we're not all going to agree on this. I said it weeks ago. We will not all agree on this. There'll be some fans who tell you you're not a fan if you don't want this type of bid. There'll be some fans who say, oh, you're just a top red wanting that. You haven't got a bloody clue. There will be infighting. There will. But ultimately, there shouldn't be, because it's what the Glazers decide to happen. And I know what the best owner is for Manchester United, and it doesn't matter to me where they come from, because that's not what we're talking about, or who they are. The best ownership for Manchester United is sole ownership, with the money and obsession to stay as the sole owner and make us the best team in the world for the next 20 years. Not the next 5, not the next 10. Whoever wants to do that is the best owner for Manchester United, because football is about money. Football is not about the local butcher buying the club. You know, that's not what it is anymore. It's about money, and it's about having owners who are obsessed with winning. And that's it. That's all it is. It's not really anything else. Moral ownership won't work. You'll just get swallowed up and end up mid-table in no time. Moral ownership will not allow you to buy people or retain people like Marcus Rashford, because they'll go where the money is, because more money is going to come into football. We need an owner. I don't think we need a consortium. We need an owner who wants to make Man United the best club in the world. That's as simple as that. The problem is, we always say it's the Glazers choosing the bid, not us. It's a sad reality, says Nick P. The article also says the Glazers might as well stay with some external investment, Mark. Do you think that might as well stay? You think that's possible with the form that we are in, says Ayan. And would love Sir Jim to buy the club, but not sure Ineos would have the cash to supply us alone as much as we want by just looking at the balance sheet, says David Erickson. And while the owner's ability to spend matters, the staff she hires is perhaps even more consequential, says Sudo. Oh, mate, there are so many levels to this, and there are so many good points coming in, and I think that's why it's important to have the conversation. Nobody should be dictating this is the right owner, that is the right owner. Akrama says, let's do a poll. Do a poll on what? Do a poll on what? Do you want Sir Jim Radcliffe to buy the football club? Well, question mark should be the option, not yes or no, because we don't know what it is. If you say yes, that's like saying run across the road with a blindfold. You might make it to the side, you might get knocked over. Like, I wouldn't even do a poll on it, because what are you voting for? You don't know what the plan is. And I don't think Saudi Arabia or Dubai or America are going to be coming in to... I don't think wealthy people are going to be in a consortium with Sir Jim or anybody else, because look at Newcastle, look at Man City. They didn't need to be part of a consortium. They want to own it. They want, to be honest with you, they don't want to buy a mansion and then put somebody else in to live in it. They want to buy it and they want everyone to know that they bought it. That's the whole attraction. You see it in America. You see in it now with football clubs. It's these billionaires that want to buy a football club. They want to buy a football club because they want people to know they own a football club. That's part of the glamour. So consortiums to me worry me, because consortiums, the sort of people who want to be part of a consortium are the sort of people who don't really want to be publicly facing. And if you don't want to be publicly facing, that tends to mean that you want to pump a load of money in. You don't want to be involved publicly. You don't want the backlash. You don't want the attention. So why are you putting the money in? Because you want a return. I don't want that. I don't want that, because it becomes a plaster. You might have 5-10 years where it's good, and then what happens? You're going to get sold again, or they're going to want their money out. Do you get to a point where you're making so much money that then they want to start taking it out? Oliver Hunt says, I've just looked up Ineos' balance sheet from the last year. They only had a bit more than 2.5 billion in cash, so I guess they'd need a consortium or debt to buy out, says Oliver Hunt. Look, I spoke to, I'm not going to name them because it's not very, very fair. It's not very fair, but make sure you smash a like on the video and please do subscribe and get involved in the chat. Consortium has too many variables, says Hossam. I'm just going to put up the headline again just because I know people are tuning in as we're going along. But I spoke to somebody, well known in the Man United, the Manchester Man United fan base, and they'd be surprised I spoke to them, so I wouldn't say it publicly. They weren't surprised. It wasn't like talking to them and they were in shock. They were talking to me, but if I put that out publicly, there'd probably be people surprised that we even speak. And they were very much, look, I don't like modern football. I don't like a lot of the things that go on. I don't really like all this money that Man City and Newcastle have got. Personally, I'd love to see Sir Jim Radcliffe buy the club with an ex-player involved. We get the club back. They'd be very focused on the club, on the fans, and you know what? I'd just be happy with that. I'd feel like we've got our club back. You can't ignore that. You can't disrespect that. That's a football fan who's followed the club for years and years and years, and that's what they want. Now, you can scream and shout at them, we're never going to win anything again, but they're saying they'd be happy as long as the club was in hands of an ex-player in Sir Jim Radcliffe, and that was how the club was. And then let's just see what happens. On the other hand, you've got people going, I couldn't give a toss about who buys Man United as long as they've got the money to sustainably make us improve over the next 10 years and challenge for the big titles, because it's been 10 years without that. Who's right and who's wrong? Both are right, because that's their personal opinion. But my opinion is that whoever is going to buy United, it has to be underpinned by money, because the stadium's going to cost, what was it, over $1 billion. The team still probably needs $500 million, and then there's all the infrastructure. So, and that's an ongoing thing. It's not like you spend $500 million on the team and you go, that's it for 10 years. You're going to have to do that again and again. I mean, even the Glazers spent $1 billion over 10 years, and we said that wasn't really enough, and it was spent badly as well. Good thing about Sir Jim owning United is, since he also owns Nice, that would be a decent club to send youngsters to develop, says Jack. There is always a positive, and hopefully there would be many more. I think the right thing would be for Sir Jim to own us, but we are past that now. I want Dubai buying us so we can go and buy the best players and go and win everything, says Sean Turner. And how successful has Ratcliffe been as an owner of Nice? Has he achieved anything significant with them? Says MZR. Not really. I think it's been quite a sustainable model for Nice. And look, there is a complete contradiction here, because you've led me into something, and I'm very, very pleased that you did. So I was reading something before I came live. That sounds completely wrong, but you know what I mean. And somebody said, I don't want Sir Jim Radcliffe to buy Manchester United, because when he gets hold of us, he will look at all the money that we've spent and all the money that we owe, and you know, financial fair play, and he will, because he's a businessman and because he cares about the club, he will restructure the club in a way where Manchester United are going to be a sustainable football club to get everything sorted. Remember that video I did last week where it's like, even if you had a really mega rich owner, there is still financial fair play that Man United are in very big danger of falling victim to. So this person was saying, well, I don't want Sir Jim Radcliffe because he'll buy Man United and then he will, he'll just focus on saving money and, you know, cutting costs and making the club viable. There's two problems with that. One, whoever buys is going to have to do that. And two, why would you spend £6 billion on a football club and then just go, well, I've got it now, let's make it sustainable? Like, if you spend £6 billion on it, you need to get £6 billion into it to get your money back. Whoever buys the club, if you buy it for £6 billion, in 10 years' time, you want it to be worth 10. And the only way it's going to be worth 10 is if you spend on it. So I think everybody's going to do that. Apparently Nice were second last year. There you go. But any buyer should have £2 billion investment fund for United, says Belvinder. And that's a great point as well, because I think every one of you is intelligent enough to know what's going on. But Chelsea were bought because the government didn't want Abramovich owning Chelsea because of what was going on between Russia and the Ukraine. So that had to go. And because the government were involved, it was very much a public process. And it did involve a lot of transparency that Chelsea fans, I think they even had a say in it. With Manchester United, the government aren't forcing the Glazers to go. The Glazers are deciding to go. And we might get lucky. There might be some sort of fan consultation. There may be, leaks about who's bidding what. But ultimately, we may never know what the structures of the deals are. We may be in a situation where we know that Dubai want to buy Man United, but we go to Sir Jim. And people always wonder, oh God, what would have happened if we'd been bought by, Dubai or whatever. So I don't think we're going to get the transparency that Chelsea got. And I certainly don't think we're going to get a say in it. The minimum, I think, is if everybody bids around the same, the Glazers might just give us a parting gift and go, well, that's probably the best for the future of the club. Everyone's bidding the same. Let's go with it. But I don't know. There was a good point about whether the Glazers will stay, which I want to just touch on. Ineos also owns Lausanne Sports here in Switzerland, invests good in the infrastructure but not in the squad, and they got relegated, says Leon. United generate their own revenue and would require less ownership capital versus clubs like Newcastle City. We just need competency at a board level, says Nathan Brown. That's incorrect. I'll come back on that. Not sure who should buy us, but we cannot be owned by whole states or anti-competition Americans. I'd like to see us be the standard bearers for all English football as a bigger institution, says Neil Leighton-Jones. And I think there are people, Gary Neville would agree with you for a start. There's a lot of United fans who would agree on that, Neil. But just going back to Nathan's point about United generating their own own revenue and basically being sustainable. No. And that's why I wouldn't want somebody to buy us who thinks that's the case. You could buy Man United and you can run it morally, right? United's revenue is about £600 million a year, right? At the moment, it's about £600 million a year. Our wage bill is around 350 million. That leaves 250 million pounds left. Wages for staff, God knows what other costs, transfers. you probably end up with about 100 million profit if you're lucky per year. What is that going to do? What is that going to do? What is £100 million a year going to do for Manchester United if they live off their own infrastructure? Now, this is what FIFA want everybody to do, but that's not going to build you a stadium. That's not going to build you, a Premier League winning side. You've got to do what's best for the football club, and that's the decision you've got to make. There was a very, very respectable group of fans when the Glazers got hold of United who just decided they weren't going to, was it FC in Manchester? They went off and set their own club up. Some people want different things. You've got to respect that. You need a maniac to catch a maniac. So if the Newcastle have this type of owner, so should we, says Joseph. And this is what I mean. There's going to be... I think the biggest thing you can prepare for, and we've sort of had it over the last few years, the infighting in the fan base is just, sad. It makes me very, very sad because I personally don't have... I know some people don't like the United stand. They don't like me, and they make up a lot of lies about it. I don't know why that is. Some people are absolutely obsessed. You see them on Twitter. They can't stop tweeting me. But personally, I don't hold those feelings towards them or any other fan group or anybody else. I don't. Or any ex-player or anybody. I don't. I might disagree with some of the things they say, but I don't hold a dislike to them because ultimately they're United fans, and I think every United fan has a voice, even if I don't agree with it. That's just the way it is. So I don't like the infighting, but this is one of the most sensitive subjects ever. This isn't about buying a number 9 that you don't agree with. This is the future of Manchester United's ownership, and that ownership can be very different under very different ownerships. For example, Sir Jim Radcliffe's ownership of Manchester United is going to be very, very different to an oil state ownership of Manchester United or a Consortium ownership of Manchester United. They're all going to be very, very different, and some people will want different things, and some people will passionately want different things. Odds on Chelsea buying us now that they've seen someone else is interested, says James. Yeah, we might get bought by Todd Bowley yet. Mark, did you see David De Gea's distribution versus City? Mariam, not talking about it. You're a troll. David De Gea is a fantastic goalkeeper. The team is doing fantastically well. I don't think you're a Manchester United fan if you are doing videos and compilations on players when we're on an amazing run of form. I find it weird. I think people are trying to be edgy. I don't think they're trying to be Man United fans. I didn't say we'd need zero capital input from owners, but we have significant infrastructure and resources already versus the other state-backed clubs, says Nathan. No, we don't. Why do you think we're being sold, Nathan? If we had significant infrastructure and revenues already, we wouldn't be being sold. We've just had to buy Weghorst on loan because there's no money. The stadium's needed building for 10 years. They won't build it because there's no money. This club is in a shit place, Nathan. The infrastructure and revenue you talk about doesn't exist. The potential infrastructure and revenue exists, but it needs expenditure to realise it. You can't just buy Man United and go, let's live off the profits. It will not work. This is the whole reason they are selling us. We're not getting Dumfries, Jamie. The game has changed where the biggest clubs cannot compete unless they have owners who are rich enough to take huge initial losses to win titles, says Stephen. Agree. And when do you think of this pop-up Manchester United shop in Switzerland, says Alan? Oh, I don't even know what to think about that, Alan. I really, really don't know what to think about that. But look, beware. Beware. It's a very sensitive and passionate topic, and people are going to disagree. And part of me, to be honest with you, it's not the reason I'm doing it, although it's just popped into my head, and maybe it is a reason I should do it, considering this is the biggest United online community, and a lot of people chat amongst themselves in the chat and in the chat below, and they listen to the shows. It would be irresponsible if I started going, this is the one. This is the one. This is the one we've been waiting for. So Jim, this is the one. Or Dubai. That's what we need. That is what we need. It'd be totally irresponsible because you are basically a cheerleader for something that you don't know what it is. Now, if I had a phone call from somebody who said, off the record, this is the plan if they get in charge of the club, and I like it, I might start going, this is the one you want, I think this is the one you want, but we're not going to get that, I don't think. And therefore, I'm definitely just going to sit back and go, I cannot publicly... I've seen people, like I say, they're reacting to it going, oh my God, this is the best thing ever, this is the best thing ever. And I'm like, stick to talking about who should play at right back, because finance ain't for you. And you're dangerous. You might have 1,000 people, you might have 10,000 people, you might have 100,000 people watching what you're saying. You're dangerous. You've got no bloody idea what the plan is for anybody who's going to buy United, other than you just think he'd be a good owner because he supports the club. That, there is history of people buying clubs who support the club and it going tits up. So Jim Radcliffe, Dubai, whoever else, they could be the dream owner. But until we know what the plan is, I cannot go and say that is the best thing to do. And also, you've got to be very wary of false prophets. And what I mean by that is, tell me who wanted Ten Hag. Did Gary Neville want Ten Hag? Did Roy Keane want Ten Hag? Did Rio Ferdinand want Ten Hag? Did any ex-player want Ten Hag? No, it was all Simeone and Poch. Did the press want Ten Hag? No, it was all Poch. Who wanted Ten Hag? The fans. Only the fans. Not the experts, just the fans. Who was right? You were right. I was right. The fans were right. Because we had knowledge. We could go and look and watch Ajax and study Ten Hag and look at what was in the market and go, I believe on my research that that is the right manager for Manchester United. And you were right. You were right. And we were right not to listen to ex-players or the media or anybody else who didn't talk about Ten Hag because they wanted something else for some other reason. We were right, and we could research why we were right. How can anybody be right on this? We can't research it because we don't know the plan. So, sorry if I'm a little bit wary of what that journalist says, or what that fan says, or what that ex-player says, or what that media outlet says, because one, they've been wrong on a lot over the last few years, and two, we don't have the information. I love United, but I could never support a club used to launder the image of human rights abusers and dictators, says Benjamin. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with what Benjamin has said there, because that is Benjamin's right to choose. And there will be people who are disappointed by the owner of Man United in the summer. And there will be people who are ecstatic by the owner in the summer. Because we will not have a choice. But hopefully it will be the right owner. NS, welcome to the Members Club. And one thing I would say is I think that it's really interesting that I just think nothing will be as bad as the Glazers. So, you know, people say the grass ain't always greener. I think that grass is as green as a lime slushy. I think it's going to be very, very green because I can't see it being as bad. How can you have a worse owner than people who don't support Manchester United, don't like football, and only want to make profit from your club? How can it be worse than that? Even an incompetent owner would be better than the Glazers if their plan is to make us great again. I don't care who is the new owner as long as they are working towards the improvement of the club and doing the right thing, says SD. And you know what I want? I'll tell you what I want. What I really, really want. I want owners that don't feed into the division of the football club. This football club is diverse. Over 99% of it doesn't even live in Manchester. You know, I've got friends, many friends. I've got loads of friends. I've got more friends than John. No, but I've got loads of friends who live in Manchester, and it's a fantastic place to live. But they never act like they're a better fan than me, and they never act like they're a better fan from someone from Northern Ireland or India or wherever. And it's very important, whoever takes over Manchester United, that they look at that. I personally do not agree that the fan forum is just made up of people who are season ticket holders. I don't agree with that, because I think the fan base is huge, and the club are starting to do that. I've seen some of these interviews they do with players, and they're inviting people from supporters clubs around the world, and I think that's fantastic. And I think the club want to embrace that. And I think whoever the new owners are, they have to embrace that. Don't just try and please a select few fans. You know, our away support is the best in the world. Our home crowd is getting back to where it needed to be. But there's a whole world of Man United fans. There are supporters clubs who get up at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to watch their club. There are people who, you know, get on the ferry to come over from Ireland and then coming back in the early hours to watch Man United. They've got season tickets. This is an amazing fan base, and what I do not want to see is somebody come in and just feed a certain select because they think they need to keep them on side, and the worldwide fan base can just get in line. Because I've seen that happen for the last 20 years. The worldwide fan base, you know, they make you the money, but they're sort of like second-class citizens, because it's, you know, let's just listen to the local fans. Let's just listen to the season ticket holders who do need listening to. God, there's nothing better than being in a ground watching a game and following your club home and away. But we have a worldwide fan base, and I want to see unification of that more, because I still think, you know, you go online, you look at the chat, and it's like, who are you? Oh, look at you and your, you know, and sometimes it's just pure racism. But we don't want that. It's 2023. It's Manchester United, and I'd love to see a more united fan base, but that has to come from the top. And I think that over the years, the club could have done better, and have also almost made some fans feel like their opinion doesn't matter as much as others. And all that does is it create division, because then those people who get listened to, they start to feel they're better than everyone else because they're being listened to. So I hope whoever comes in does have that on their agenda to, you know, unify the worldwide fan base and make everybody feel part of it. Because I think sometimes you don't. I sometimes don't. You know, I'm not from Manchester. I get it all the time. I'm not really bothered about it, but I don't think anybody's better than anybody else. Billy Ward, welcome to the Members Club. We spent 85 million just on interest, overall loss of 150 million. The financial statements are available online. United can't be sustainable without a cash influx, says Mohammed. I'm looking forward to visiting the UK and Old Trafford for the first time next season. Excited to see where the club is going, says Brandon. Amen, says Atta. And Mark didn't mention he's not looking for returns from the club, says Jim Radcliffe. Not sure how his board would react to that, says Wakas. The devil will be in the detail. Pardon the pun, but Man United, the Red Devils, the devils will be in the detail. And we won't get the detail. We might not get the detail until the club's been bought. I mean, I think it was Talk Sport is saying that the Glazers, super fans rarely make ideal owners, says Stephen. Well, look, I'm never going to own Manchester United, but if I owned Manchester United, I'd want 6 billion in my pocket to buy a stadium and infrastructure. I'd already know who I'm sacking, and a lot of people would be going from Ten Hag up, around recruitment and on the board. That would all be getting cleared out. There might be an owner. Imagine this scenario, right? We've spoken a lot about Sir Jim, and we're speculating. We don't know what his plan is, other than that he wants to buy the club. Imagine another owner. And I want to talk about the Glazers staying, because that's still a problem. Imagine another owner who buys Manchester United, and they're a consortium from whatever country, yeah? And they really don't want to be hands-on. They want Man United. They see the business potential in Manchester United. They feel that they can take Manchester United from a 6 billion business to a 10 billion business in 10 years, and then they can cash in. And to do that, they know they've got to spend money, but they're willing to do that, but they don't want to be hands-on. So they get hold of Man United. Their plan is to increase the value of the club, and they know they've got to build a stadium and buy players to do that, but they don't want to be public-facing. So as part of the business model, we will keep Richard Arnold, who will then keep a lot of the people. That could be an option. That could be a viable option. And, you know, the Glazers like these people. They've made them a lot of money. Maybe the Glazers will sell the club to somebody who keeps them people in place because they feel a loyalty to them. I was thinking about this the other week. This happens all the time with businesses. I'll sell it to them because they'll keep all the staff. You know, that could happen. There could be people who buy United who want to run it like the Glazers, but not in the sense of making profit. They want the club to be successful. They want to increase its value, but they're going to keep everybody else in place. That might happen. That might happen. And SK says sod that, and I don't want that. And there's a lot of people, quite rightly, who go, if we buy Manchester, if Man United's bought, forget Murta, forget Arnold, forget that board, forget the recruitment department. They're all gone. All the there's going to get all cleared out. We're going to have competent people, and that's what we want. But there's no guarantee that will happen, because it's up to the Glazers who they sell to, and maybe there is a consortium out there who want to make United successful, but ultimately want it to be successful because they want to sell it for 15 billion in 10 years or whatever. And the plan to do that is to use the people who are already here, because they know what the club's all about. The ownership model is so important. You know what? I'm not commenting on where the money comes from, but Newcastle have got it right. Newcastle have brought they needed a new manager. We don't. But they've brought director of football in. They've brought recruitment in. They've brought strategic people in. They've remodelled the board. And the club from top to bottom is changing. Remodel from top to bottom. And they've done that because they want to be excellent at everything they do. That's the type of owner we need. We don't need an owner that comes in and sort of keeps everything in place and is looking for a long-term exit plan. And there will be people bidding who do that. There will be bidding people who do that. Some people think that's what Chelsea's all about. A long-term exit strategy with profit. But we don't want that. We don't want that. We want, and this is what you've got to get your head around, because whenever anything is bought, there is an ulterior motive. Some people buy a house because they're quite happy to live there and they know it's in an area where in 10 years' time they'll double their money. Some people buy a house because they want to live and have a family there and never sell it. We want that. That's what we want. We want somebody to buy Manchester United who never wants to sell it and just wants to enjoy it and make it a happy place. What we don't want is somebody who's willing to buy it for a lot of money and willing to spend money on it, get a new kitchen, this, that and the other, but always in the back of their head they're thinking, in 10 years' time I'll double my money on this. And you can still build a new stadium, and you can still buy players, and you can still have that plan. And that can still be a bad plan. And we'd still benefit as fans. We'd still get a new stadium. We'd still buy players. We still might win titles. But you know what? Have we not earned a little bit of being greedy ourselves as United fans? I don't want somebody to buy United who's going to build a stadium, buy players with the long-term aim of making a profit and selling us. I actually want somebody to buy it and love it and never want to sell it. And if that is Sir Jim, maybe it is. Maybe it is. But I don't know, because I don't know what his plan is. And maybe there won't even be a buyer like that. I don't know. Mark, will the potential buyers come out and say their plan to the fans to try and tip the scales? Ian, it's something I thought about, and I do want to talk about the Glazers staying, because somebody mentioned that and it still keeps getting mentioned. Farouk says, I'm from Kazakhstan and there is more than 100k fans here. We support Man United with all our hearts, but we don't have the chance to visit Old Trafford every home game, but that doesn't make us secondary fans. No, it doesn't, Farouk. It doesn't. And anybody who thinks it does, I mean, really, what's United about that? Yeah, I think that... sorry, your super chat was missed, Renate. Sorry about that. There's no such thing as moral billionaire, so I say go for the best one, but then again, we don't have any say in this. Thank you very much for that. From who was that from? That was from Min. What Ian Hobbs says is interesting. I do want to talk about the Glazers keeping hold of the club as well. I think that's we can't miss that. But what was said there about, do you think some of these bidders will put their plan out there publicly? I don't know how that works. So we know that Ineos, Sir Jim, want to bid for Man United. Can they put out what their plan is for Man United? I suspect yes, but I'm not 100% sure, because I would love to know that. You know, I would love to know that, because we can't lose. If a buyer of Man United says, I want to buy United, and my plan when I get them is to spend 2 billion on the best stadium renovation there's ever been, to spend 3 billion on the squad over the next 5 years, and to spend 1 billion on infrastructure, I'll be like, where do I sign up for that then, Sir Jim? You know, that would be great. I would love that to happen. I would love public information to come out as to what each buyer is, because we can't lose. Because if we do get Sir Jim and he said all that and he doesn't do it, I don't care whether he's a United fan or not. You said you were going to do this. You've got to deliver it. And also, if we don't get him and we get, you know, some investors, then we've got every right to be really pissed off with the Glazers and go, what could have been? So I would like to think that after these people express their interest in bidding, like Sir Jim has, and there will be others, we also get detail of what their plan is as well. Because then you can, it's not like you're going to have any say, it's not like we're going to be voting, but then we can have, you know, some knowledge and make our own minds up. And I think that's important. And you know what? The interesting thing is, how can you have fan consultation? How can I'm no fan of the Glazers, but how can there be fan consultation on who the next owner should be when fans won't agree? Fans won't agree. There's a lot of people who want Middle Eastern ownership. Whether you like that or not, there is. There's a lot of people who would like a local owner with an ex-player, whether you like it or not. So how can you consult the fans on what you want? You can do it on the manager, because over 90% of us wanted Ten Hag. But how do you consult the fans on the next owner of Man United? Because there's all sorts of issues there, and there will be disagreements. So I think let them get on with it, and let's just hope we get the right one. Did you hear what happened on the BBC, Mark? Says Brandon. No, I didn't. What I do want to talk about is, do I think the Glazers could stay? Now, listen up. I don't care whether you're Sir Jim Radcliffe, Dubai, America, Asia, wherever. Rod Stewart. It don't matter. Ollie Mers. Doesn't matter. Whoever decides that they want to invest in United and give the Glazers the money to stay, that is career suicide. I would be stunned if Sir Jim Radcliffe did it. The only sort of people, and let's not forget, the Glazers have been trying to do this for 2 years. They've been trying to get somebody to give them, you know, to take 25%, to give them the money so they can stay anyway. So I don't think that's going to happen. I actually said back in July, I think we're nearly at the end. I just had this feeling that we were nearly at the end, and I think we are. And lo and behold, the club's up for sale. So I think we're at the end. I think they're going to go, and I think they're going to go because even if you could find somebody, and I'm not ruling it out, but I don't want to scaremonger. And people do keep talking about United could take investment. The Glazers could take investment. If the Glazers stay, it's not like the anti-Glazer movement is just going to go, oh, they're staying, let's just get on with it. That will still be there. And whoever invests will automatically become a Glazer sympathiser because they've allowed them to stay. So they'll become public enemy number one. So why would you want to invest in Man United to keep the Glazers there? Because you're going to be disliked. It won't happen. I can't see it happening. And also, what you've got to remember is as well, why would the Glazers want to stay at Man United now? The club's worth about 4 billion in real terms, but a lot of people want it, so that'll push the price up. So they're going to get about 6 billion. They're going to get more than it's worth. Why would you refuse more than it's worth to stay, get a bit of investment, and have to work and do all the work again while still getting all the shit? They've got an exit plan. They've got an escape route. I'd be stunned if they don't take it. Let's face it, if any of us fans with the Glazers had no connection to the club, we would all want the highest bidder, says Matt Ross. Yeah, I agree. You know, if I lived in America and I owned a theme park, and I don't even like theme parks. Actually, I do. It's not been for years. But if I owned a theme park in America and I lived in England, and people were moaning about it and protesting about it, and oh, this ride's rubbish. Why don't you do any new rides? But I'm still making loads of money. And then suddenly the theme park needs a bit of investment, and everyone wants to buy it from me. Am I going to go, ooh, I'm going to buy... I'll tell you what, it's not the best bid, but I'm going to go for this one because the people who've been moaning at me for years, This one says he's going to buy a really good log flume and give it, and renovate it all. Am I going to go with the cheapest? I'm not. I'm going to go. I don't live in America. I don't like theme parks. I'm going to take the biggest bid I can and piss off. And I know we don't like that because we are the theme park moaners, but because we love it, we're right to moan. But that is a good example of why would the Glazers give a shit about what is best for Manchester United? It will come down to, we need the highest bidder to be the best bidder, basically, and then we'll get the best owner. We need the best owner for Man United to bid the highest, and if that happens, we're all right. What I find interesting is, what is the wealth status and hunger of the people who are going to bid? Because, are we in a situation where somebody is so rich that they might just offer 8 billion? I don't know. It'd be mad, wouldn't it? If the Glazers were interested, Glazers could ask for a manifesto from each bid. They won't because they want to keep it private, so we don't see, says SK. And hi, Mark, any plans for a special party show or something similar after the sale? Feels like we're on the brink of a trophy with the Glazers almost gone, says Ivan. I'm sure a lot of people will do that. I'm sure they will, but I'm almost a little bit scared about doing that sort of thing, because those sort of things have a way of biting you in the arse. I can't see an owner being worse than the Glazers, but imagine if they were. It would be embarrassing, wouldn't it, to celebrate the end of them and then 2 years down the line be going, we want them out. But I don't see that happening. I think we'll be in a much better position. I really, really do. Anyway, look, I've really enjoyed the show tonight. I think there's a bit of football on. I'm going to go and watch. I'm not doing a watch-along because we're doing a watch-along tomorrow night, and I'm doing Man City Spurs on Thursday night as well. So it's 1-0 to Liverpool already, apparently. I just joined. It feels like they're finally leaving your toxic partner to meet the new one, says Shahin. Well, it's been a really interesting show tonight. I love these sort of things, and I don't think it will be the last one. I really do think we'll be doing these videos for numerous bidders, which we'll find out more about as they declare their interest. But I think that's what we're going to get for the next 2 weeks. It might be more interesting than the final 2 weeks of the transfer window, to be honest with you. But I really want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in. I'm never surprised by the knowledge of this community, and I'm never surprised about how easy the community conversation flows. I know you will disagree with each other, and I know some people will say things that oil me up, that might wind people up, and some people say get to the gym. It's all about opinion. But as I said, sometimes I don't go live straight away because I have a little look around at what other people are saying, and I just think you are basically running across that road with a blindfold on, celebrating, and you might just get hit by a car. What are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about because we don't know what the details of the bid are. So how can we start going, yes, Sir Jim's bidding? We don't know what his bid is. And there might be a better one, or it might be a brilliant bid. We don't know. There is excitement, I get that, but I'm sort of calm excitement at the moment because I'm still like, I know what I want. I know what ownership model I want. Who's going to deliver that? That's the most important thing. Career mode should be back tomorrow, Sean. I had to postpone it today. I'll talk more about it when I start it up again. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Smash a like. I hope you enjoyed my little red backlight. I don't know whether anyone noticed that. It can do other things. It's my new light. I'm very excited about it. Watch this. Can be green. Can be blue. It can be, I think that's yellow. It can be purple. It can be like a light blue. That'd be good for That's Football. I think that's sort of white. I think that's white. There we go. Yeah, I think we'll go with reds when we're doing United Stand, to be honest with you. There we go. I like the red. About time I had a backlight anyway. Thanks everyone for watching. And take care. And I'm back on the 10 o'clock show tomorrow. But if anything happens in between, of course, we'll talk about it. And it's match day tomorrow. Big game tomorrow. I like it when you get it both ways. Excitement about the ownership and then excitement about a match. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, everyone. I'll speak to you all in a bit. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.